He tested for the part, the director loved him, and the network passed anyway. And this happened years before he became one of the most acclaimed actors of his entire generation. A future Oscar nominee reportedly almost spent a season falling for an alien girl on a network teen drama, and the role went to somebody else instead. That story is coming, and here's the twist. He's not even the most surprising near miss on this list. Welcome back to the Throwback Network. A network president once looked at the actress who'd go on to define one of television's most iconic will they, won't they partnerships, and reportedly asked where her sex appeal was, because he wanted a Baywatch lifeguard for the part instead. A leading man got so close to being cut from his own show that the network reportedly considered paying to shut the whole production down rather than let him keep the role, and one actress won a part that made her a star, only to learn later that the casting director had actually called her back in for a completely different character. 10 love interests, 10 roles that almost belonged to someone else, and today we're digging into every one of them. Number 10 starts us off at the bottom of the list. Number 10, Griffin Holbrook, Party of Five. Julia Salinger's on-again, off-again bad boy boyfriend Griffin turned into one of the defining relationships on Party of Five. The kind of complicated, slow-burn romance the show built entire seasons around. James Marsden originated the role back in Season 1, years before most viewers would come to know his face from bigger projects. And the exit that followed had nothing to do with the character itself. When the show's renewal looked uncertain heading into its second year, Marsden landed a larger part on a different Fox family drama called Second Noah, playing the oldest of 8 adopted children. Party of Five hadn't been guaranteed a second season at that point, and Second Noah offered a much bigger role than Griffin had been up to that point, so walking away made sense in the moment. Then the show got renewed anyway. Marsden didn't come back for it, which meant the part of Griffin needed a new face, and that's when Jeremy London stepped into a relationship the audience already recognized and carried it through years of on and off drama, all without most viewers ever realizing somebody else had played the character first. The actor who originated Julia's most famous boyfriend left the show before most people even learned his name, and the guy everyone actually remembers wasn't even in the pilot. Number 9, Winnie Cooper. The Wonder Years. Winnie Cooper, the girl next door Kevin Arnold spent an entire series falling for, became the emotional center of the Wonder Years almost from the moment she showed up on screen. Danica McKellar has told this story herself more than once, and it's a genuinely strange one once you hear the details. Producers have been auditioning a long list of experienced young actresses, looking for something they described as newness, a quality none of the more polished candidates seemed to have. The search eventually came down to 2 finalists reading opposite the show's lead actor. And here's the part that makes it stick. Both of them happen to be sisters. Danica and her real-life sister, Crystal McKellar, both got called back for that final read. And afterward, the producers made their choice and gave Winnie to Danica. Crystal didn't walk away with nothing, though. The creators liked her enough that they wrote an entirely new recurring character just so she could join the cast too. A tough neighborhood girl named Becky Slater who became a memorable presence in her own right across the show's run. Winnie Cooper almost carried the exact same last name as the actress who lost out on the part, because either way, a McKellar was walking away with the role. Number 8, Rebecca Howe, Cheers. When Shelley Long left Cheers after 5 seasons, the show needed a new love interest sharp enough to go toe-to-toe with Ted Danson's Sam Malone, and finding her meant risking the exact chemistry that had carried the series from the start. Reportedly, the search for Rebecca Howe ran through some serious names before it ever reached Kirstie Alley. Sharon Stone read for the part, Kim Cattrall did too, and so did Marg Helgenberger, 3 actresses who'd all go on to become stars in their own right over the following decade. The show's producers ended up falling for Alley, but getting her past the network took real convincing, since NBC executives hadn't seen her audition themselves and didn't consider her a comic actress at all. It reportedly took the producers standing firmly behind their pick before the network finally agreed to let her take the role. Alley walked away from Cheers with an Emmy for the part the network almost turned down, which is about as clean a vindication as a casting fight ever gets. The actress who ended up winning an award for playing Rebecca Howe almost didn't get hired for the role in the first place. Number 7. Topanga Lawrence. Boy Meets World. Topanga became one of the most beloved love interests of 90s television, spending nearly the entire run of Boy Meets World opposite Corey Matthews in a relationship that grew up alongside its audience. She wasn't the first actress to play the part, and the story behind the swap is more dramatic than most casting changes ever get. Bonnie Morgan was originally hired as Topanga, but after just one day of rehearsal, the production had already started looking for someone else. Danielle Fishel, meanwhile, had actually auditioned for Topanga herself and been passed over entirely, landing a much smaller role as one of Corey and Sean's classmates instead, which meant she was sitting right there on set when the part suddenly opened back up. Once Morgan was let go, producers turned to Fishel and another young actress named Marla Sucato and had each of them read a scene on the spot. Fishel got the part, stepping into a role she'd already lost once before, and turned it into the character most people who grew up watching the show still remember first. Topanga got fired and recast before the pilot had even finished its first day of rehearsal, and the actress who eventually won the part had already been rejected for it once. Number 6. Andy Trudeau. Charmed. Inspector Andy Trudeau, Prue Halliwell's childhood sweetheart, anchored Charmed's central romance for its entire first season, right up until the character's sacrifice in the finale became one of the show's most emotional moments. Before Ted King landed the role, 2 other actors reportedly read for Andy Trudeau. Brian Krause tried out for the part, and so did Kerr Smith, both auditioning for the same police officer love interest before the role ultimately went to King instead. Krause didn't leave empty-handed though, because producers cast him elsewhere on the very same show, giving him the role of Piper's white-lighter love interest Leo Wyatt, a part that kept him on Charmed for all 8 seasons, which is far longer than Andy Trudeau ever lasted. The actor who almost played one Halliwell sister's love interest ended up playing a different sister's instead, and stuck around years longer than the role he originally wanted. If you're new here, we do this every week, digging up the casting stories and almost forgotten near misses hiding behind the shows you already know. Hit subscribe if that sounds like your thing, because the next 4 names on this list are about as close as it gets. Number 5. Dylan McKay. Beverly Hills, 90210. Dylan McKay didn't even show up in the Beverly Hills 90210 pilot, but once he did, he quickly turned into the show's brooding romantic centerpiece, pulled between Brenda and Kelly for years of will they, won't they drama. Before Luke Perry locked the role down, network testing came down to a small handful of actors, including Kurt Geiger, who made it all the way to that final round right alongside him. Sean Patrick Flannery, David Barry Gray, and Keith Coogan all read for or were scheduled to read for the part as well. One name on that list stands out from the rest though. Matt LeBlanc, years before he became one of the most recognizable sitcom stars of the following decade, reportedly tried out for Dylan McKay too. Perry won the role in the end and turned Dylan into one of the defining teen heartthrobs of the entire decade, the kind of performance that's genuinely hard to picture anyone else pulling off now. A future sitcom icon almost spent the 90s brooding at the Peach Pit instead of becoming famous somewhere else entirely. Number 4. Joey Potter. Dawson's Creek. Joey Potter's tangled love triangle with Dawson and Pacey defined 6 seasons of Dawson's Creek and turned Katie Holmes into one of the most recognizable young actresses of her generation. Creator Kevin Williamson didn't originally picture Holmes in the role at all. He'd wanted Selma Blair to play Joey, and that choice shaped a specific tomboy energy the early auditions were built around. Holmes, still in high school at the time and unwilling to miss class for the audition process, sent in a videotape performance instead of flying out in person, a workaround that ended up mattering a lot more than anyone expected going in. That tape was strong enough to completely change Williamson's mind, and Holmes won the role outright. Joey Potter became the emotional anchor of the entire series. From there, the character whose choices between her 2 best friends kept audiences arguing for years. The role that made Katie Holmes a star was written with somebody else's face in mind, and a homework-driven workaround is the reason she got the part at all. Number 3. David Addison. Moonlighting. David Addison's chemistry with Sybil Shepherd's Maddie Hayes powered the entire engine behind Moonlighting, one of the defining will they won't they pairings of 80s television and the show that turned its leading man into a movie star almost overnight. Getting to that leading man took a while. Creator Glenn Gordon Caron auditioned well over 1,000 actors, chasing the right chemistry for David Addison, and at one point he even considered a well-known Los Angeles radio disc jockey for the part before ultimately passing on him. When Bruce Willis finally walked into the room, Caron knew almost instantly he'd found his guy. Convincing the network took a lot longer than convincing Caron. ABC repeatedly pushed back, insisting Willis wasn't a leading man and that nobody would believe him standing next to Shepherd, and the pushback got serious enough that the network reportedly offered to pay off both Shepherd and the production's already hired director rather than move forward with Willis in the role. Treating the part as effectively uncastable turned out to be a bad bet. A network almost paid to shut its own show down rather than let Bruce Willis play the love interest, and the part turned him into a household name almost immediately after. Number 2. Dana Scully, The X-Files. Dana Scully's slow-burn partnership with Fox Mulder became one of the most influential will they, won't they relationships in television history, built on a skepticism versus belief dynamic that defined the entire show around it. The casting almost went a completely different direction. 1992 was the year Basic Instinct made Sharon Stone the biggest name in Hollywood, and Fox executives reportedly wanted to chase that same look for Scully, pushing to offer the role to Baywatch's Pamela Anderson instead of the actress creator Chris Carter actually wanted. Carter fought hard for Gillian Anderson, the only actress who'd read for the part and convinced him she had the integrity the character needed. And where's the sex appeal, is the question Carter has recalled the network asking him directly, even though Anderson was, in his own words, beautiful, just not what the suits considered their idea of sexy for the role. Carter won that argument in the end, and Gillian Anderson turned Scully into one of the most respected characters in television history, an outcome the network never saw coming while they were busy pushing for someone else entirely. The most iconic skeptic in television history almost lost the job to a Baywatch lifeguard because a network wanted to chase the same look one movie had made popular that year. Number 1. Max Evans, Roswell. Max Evans, the alien teenager who falls for classmate Liz Parker, became the emotional center of Roswell's entire run, the reason the show's central romance felt like it actually had stakes attached to it. Before Jason Behr won the role, an actor named Heath Ledger reportedly tested for Max and impressed both the show's director and its creator enough that they wanted him in the part. The network passed anyway, unwilling to take a chance on an actor they associated with an earlier project that hadn't performed the way they'd hoped, and that decision looked worse and worse as time went on. Less than 2 years later, that same actor appeared in a film that made him one of the most talked about young stars in Hollywood, and within another decade, an entire generation would recognize him as one of the finest actors alive. Jason Behr got the part instead, and the director who'd wanted Ledger later said plainly that Behr turned out to be exactly right for the role, calling the show impossible to picture without him. A future Oscar nominee reportedly tested for the part of an alien teenager on a network drama and got turned down, years before an entire generation would recognize him as one of the best actors alive. 10 love interests, 10 roles that almost belong to somebody else entirely, and every one of these shows would feel completely different today if even one of those decisions had gone the other way. Notice what actually connects these stories. A network chased a look instead of trusting the performance already sitting in front of them. A show got renewed right after an actor had already moved on to something else. An actress got fired after a single day and replaced by someone who'd already been rejected for the same part once before. None of these love interests exist because a casting director had the perfect vision from day one, and that's really the point. They exist because a first choice fell through, or a network got overruled, or somebody's videotaped audition happened to land on exactly the right desk. Picture how different these shows look without any of these near misses. No Gillian Anderson as Scully, and The X-Files loses the exact partnership that made the entire show work. No Bruce Willis, and Moonlighting might have gone off the air without ever finding its spark. No Jason Behr, And Roswell might never have found the actor, its own creator, called exactly right for the part. If you already knew one of these stories, drop a comment and tell us which one. And if there's a TV love interest out there with a casting story we missed, let us know down below. Because we're always digging for the next one. Thanks for watching. This is the Throwback Network, and I'll see you in the next one.